Hey Village, it's your girl Tasha Ray, the host of Red Lipstick Conversations. So, welcome to another episode. And if you are wondering, yes, I do have artwork in the back, but like I spoke to you all about on Wednesday's episode of Womanhood Decoded, sometimes you have to do things when it's not all the way perfect. So even though I have some artwork up, just know that this is the foundation, or this is where I'm starting from, but this is not what the plan is. But I just wanted you all to know that I'm working on it is the bottom line. So anyways, happy Friday. And I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for joining on Instagram and on YouTube. Facebook, and LinkedIn. So, wherever you are watching me from, thank you so much for being a part of my online community, A Village for Us, and my
viewer has left. Currently no viewers.
Okay, so I need to take these off because my glasses are talking to me. Because every single time I'm thinking something, it's like
the glass give you. Okay.
So, if you all don't know, there are glasses that are smart glasses, which are these. And when I say they were talking to me, I'm not saying, I'm letting you know that it was saying words in my ears and I'm trying to say words. And it's like we're in a battle to say words. So, that's what I need to take them off. So, anyway, today I am excited to talk to you about vision boards. Why? Because it's the end of the year and there might be some other type A personalities out there that are listening and or watching today's podcast. So around Black Friday, I started looking for materials for my annual vision board, and I was looking for stickers and just coloring pencils and things of that nature, because even though I'm not a DIYer, one thing I do like to do every year is to do my vision boards. Well, anyway, I came across this, and let me see if I can get it in the right angle. So it is called the Manuscripting Journal, and it came in this box. Switch it out. Maybe you'll be able to see it right here. Okay, let's see if this is going to stand up. Almost. Maybe. Ooh, okay. So I got it to stand up. So anyway, I came across this. And if you are wondering what the Manuscripting Journal is, it is a vision board on steroids. And so the thing about it is it had everything that I could ever hope for all in one space without me having to go collecting. So that means that it came with colorful pages. It also came with stickers that say positive things, like all I need is within me right now. I am the creator of my reality. It's already mine. I am beautiful and confident. It's already time. I don't have to wait. Trust my intuition. And the list goes on. So I was excited about the affirmation stickers. And then it also has various tabs. And so I wanted to read a bit of the introduction because, well, I want to share what the author had to say about her book. And what she says is, hello and welcome, beautiful soul. I am beyond thrilled to have you join me and thousands of others on this beautiful journey of growth, learning, and transformation. She then explains what her name is, and I'm not going to butcher it, but her first name is Samantha. And she is the founder of the Manuscripting Journal. And I created this method for myself years ago when I hit rock bottom in 2015, and I knew I needed to change my life. It wasn't entirely intentional when I started my transformational journey because I didn't know what I was doing. All I knew is that I was in need of desperate change, and I had no one to ask for help. And I used my intuition and a movie called The Secret and the support of self help books to create my new reality. It was a challenging process, but for some reason I kept going, and it was my intuition that kept me moving forward. It wasn't until 2020 that I started sharing my personal journey and journaling methodology with my friends and online community. I quickly realized that other women felt the same regarding hardships and their desire to change their lives and didn't know where to start. From that moment, I knew I had to share my life changing process and tools with the world. And therefore, I birthed the manuscripting journal. So I'm going to leave it right there as it pertains to the introduction. So, the beginning of the book starts with defining what does manuscript mean, and it's pronounced Manny like a manicure plus scripting. The combination of words is to mean manifestation plus scripting, which is to write your desires and manifest them. Then the meaning or the reason for doing this is the manuscript means to manifest your goals and desires using the power of intentional writing through self-reflection and asking your higher self to materialize the desire in the best possible way. And what does it mean to do this? It means that you have decided to take control of your life. Then finally, there are 4 different elements: the sun, the star, the moon, and the triangle. The sun obviously has to do with the origin of life. The star can be any divine guidance and protection. The moon is representative of feminine energy. And then the triangle represents manifestation, enlightenment, and revelation. Moving on. This quote here: whatever you're thinking about is literally like planning a future event. When you're worrying, you are planning. When you're appreciating, you are planning. So, what are you planning? And that quote is from Abram Hicks. So, when I got to the part of the website that was explaining the nuances of manifesting, part of me was like, okay, well, this is a bit heavier than I wanted to get into when I was thinking about doing a continuation of my vision board journey. But then I thought, maybe I should try to do something outside of what I've currently been doing, because we all know that doing the same thing, expecting different results, is insanity. So I said to myself, I was going to get outside of my comfort zone. And I feel like every single time I choose to follow my intuition and get out of my comfort zone and or get out of my way, I find that the universe seems to celebrate or seems to support any time I choose to follow or listen to myself, if that makes any sense. So I got the journal, and I feel like this is way beyond a journal, and it's way beyond a vision board. And it satisfies my tactile and or creative I guess desires. But what I liked about this process is that it gives room for creativity, or it gives room for theoretically coloring outside of the lines. The other day, I was working with my daughter, explaining why she should color inside of the lines, because it's one of the criteria for moving on to her next level in school. So my daughter says, she's 4, about to be 5 next month, and she says, well, I feel like if it's my coloring book, I should be able to put color where I want. And I don't like coloring in the lines. And I said, you know what, Isabella? You color the picture however you want to color it. And if the teacher asks me, how come you're coloring it that way? I'm just going to say that that's the way that you want to color it. But in the meantime, I want to know that you can color inside of the lines just in case it happens to be on a test or a quiz. I want to know that you can do it. My daughter colored so well inside of the lines that it was almost scary, in that I had never seen her do it one time. And then she looked at me and she said, see, now can I color it the rest of it my way? And I said, sure can. And so, I think when we're looking at ourselves and we're looking at our plans, we want things to kind of happen in a very strategic and orderly way. And especially when you are on the pathway of entrepreneurship, you have this vision, and it's almost like when you speak about it, it can be a little scary, because now whatever you're talking about, you kind of have to live up to it. So like if you tell your friends, for example, or you tell somebody in your circle, I'm going to start a t-shirt business or company. And then next time you see your friends, you don't have t-shirts. Your friends are kind of like, okay, well then why'd you tell me about your t-shirts? And here I am seeing you and I don't see no t-shirts. So the point of me saying all that is to say that when you speak things, that creates an expectation. And then when you write things, typically you are going to be writing a strategy, a plan of action, or bullet points on the concept of whatever it is that you are thinking about starting. So what this journal is saying is that all of this are steps in the manifesting process. So basically, you can call it whatever you want to call it, but whenever you put pen to paper, you are bringing forth an idea that is inside of your brain, and you are taking it from your conscious thoughts, and then you are then either speaking it or writing it into existence. And so when they broke it down like that, I was just like, okay, I be manifesting. And it kind of was a confirmation for me that I should continue to speak about what it is that I want to do with my brand development, to continue beating my drum, so to speak, about buying Black and or bridging the Black wealth gap. Because when I do that, I am saying to the universe that these are things that I want to call into my life. And these are things that I want to um, not stay in the way of, or not be a hindrance of, in my own life. So also I found that when I said that I was going to start a second podcast, someone kind of like when you say that you're engaged, they immediately want to know, well, what's the launch date? And when I was asked it, that question forced me to think on the spot. And I thought, well, I see no reason why I can't start this month. And then now I had to go about, speaking with DSN about how that process would be, what day of the week it would be. And so, as you can see, the more I spoke about it, the more real, or the more tangible it became. And so now, as you can see, I'm sitting here and I am on my second podcast, and you might be listening to me or watching me. But the point is that even if I don't call it manifesting, I did the steps of the manifesting process in order for me to actually be sitting here doing this podcast. And so in the same way, when you thought to yourself, I want to be a chef. So then you went about researching culinary institutions, or researching culinary certifications that you might get, so that you can go through the pathway or the steps that's needed to reach the goal. So whether or not you knew it or not, you are manifesting by doing your process. And I was just like, huh. And then in here it says, manifesting isn't magic because manifestation requires effort and action, which magic does not necessarily need. 2, your personality determines your reality. So, how you think, feel, and act has a direct consequence on how you view the world. So, if you are one of those people that view the world from the half full or half empty perspective, whichever way that you're viewing it from, this book is saying that that's going to shape your reality. So, if you're a person that um thinks that mostly negative things are happening to them or mostly negative things are happening in the world, even if something positive happens, it's almost like it's disregarded because it doesn't go along with their mindset. In the same way, if someone is looking at things from a positive perspective, then it's like you're looking at everything from, even if something adverse happens or something where you have to, change your perspective or whatever have you, you're looking at it from a place of power or from a place of where you're not the victim, where you are the main character of your story. Hey, friend, thank you for taking the time to watch. And the thing about it is that I think a lot of the times we don't even realize how powerful our own words are, and or how powerful our inner dialogue is. And so when I'm talking about inner dialogue, that's that voice or that thought that you have, like when you think to yourself, I want to go back to school, or you think, I want to start a podcast, or I want to write a book, or I want to start a business. Whenever you get a thought, typically there is something in your mind that might say, well, why? There's a whole bunch of books out in the world. Does the world really need another book? Or does the world really need another business? Or does the world really need another podcast? Whatever it is that you're interested in doing, something in your mind will inherently say, why are you doing this? Or is this thing actually necessary? Well, when you hear that, sometimes it's good to have that negative feedback, but at the same time, or that opposite feedback. But a lot of the times, we talk ourselves out of things that could actually be in alignment with our purpose, because we tell ourselves either we're ill-equipped, or we tell ourselves we don't have enough knowledge, or we tell ourselves any number of things that is negative. But, instead of that, for example, when you think about starting a business, company, podcast, or whatever it is that you're thinking about doing, when you hear that naysayer thought in your mind, if you're thinking about like the angel and the devil on each side, when you hear the voice that says you shouldn't, why don't you push through it and actually do it and see if you start to see any differences in your life? Another thing that I really liked is this thing called an emotional guidance scale. And if you're not familiar with it, it was created by Dr. David Hawkins. So, what it does is it breaks down everything that you are experiencing in life on 3 different ways: by the conscious level, what we experience, and our energetic frequency. So, on the conscious level, as far as what we are aware of and what we think about, there's enlightenment, peace, joy, love, reason, acceptance, willingness, neutrality, courage, pride, anger, desire, fear, grief, apathy, guilt, and shame. And then all of those words has a corresponding energetic frequency. So the next element of the vision board and or manuscripting process says your vibration and frequency determines what you manifest. So essentially everything in our reality is vibrating at a particular frequency, from a rock on the ground to water in the ocean to a strand of hair. Everything in between, including your entire body, is made of atoms, molecules, and compounds. Atoms are bonded together in molecules and compounds through various types of chemical bonds, including covalent, ionic, and metallic bonds. And so the point of all of this is to say that For every thought and for every emotion, there is a corresponding frequency. And so, when you really let that sink in and you think about what might have happened to you this week, for example, um, sometimes when something negative happens to us, and I know I'm guilty of this, um, I will tend to obsess about the negative interaction or the negative event in my day, and then that might theoretically color my whole day. So if someone asks me how was my week, I might, because of the way I think, I feel like I'm firmly planted in reality, so I will focus on the negative things because that's just how my mind works. But then if I shift that and think of the positive things, I realize that really only two problematic and or negative things happened. But I sat and thought about those things the remainder of the week, making it a bad week when in reality it was two separate, unrelated incidences that should not have had that huge of a weight on my week. And when I thought about it, I was just like, huh, I guess I didn't have a really bad week like I had initially thought. The next thing the book says is everything in our reality is created twice. I'm going to say that again. Everything in our reality is created twice. So when something is created in our physical reality, it must first be created in the mind by thought and vision, and then it is created in our physical reality. The first thing had to be created by our minds. And when we truly grasp this concept, we will understand how we are the creators of our reality. Before, you might have thought everything starts with a vibration, or you might have thought that you were just moving through life randomly. But now that you realize that you have the capacity to not just coast in your life, but to be the creator of your life, your perception starts to shift. I was just like, ooh, that was heavy. The next section says your subconscious mind runs your life. Your subconscious mind is formed through genetics, upbringing, experiences, and environment. During childhood, the brain is highly impressionable and experiences and interactions from parents, peers, and significant figures shaping our subconscious mind. As we grow older, our experiences widen to include media, culture, and other external factors. And these combine and influence and continue to program our subconscious mind till we get to a point to where it's no longer flexible. So, the way we think on any given day is broken up into a pie chart, and 5% is our conscious mind. That has to do with our critical thinking, our logical thinking, our short-term memory and willpower, and then our subconscious mind controls the other 95%, which is habits, behaviors, beliefs, addictions, and or values, development stages, long-term memory, creativity, emotions, and feelings. Finally, intuition. So your habits and behaviors are programmed like a computer software to run applications. If you are unhappy with your current life, all you need to do is reprogram the software you are running. A great place to start is with your thoughts. You have thousands every day, and our thoughts create a physical response in our body called emotions, and our emotions contribute to our habits and or behaviors, including our vices. Reprogramming the conscious mind by starting with your thoughts can be challenging in the noisy, busy world that we live in, but it's possible through meditation. And so typically when people hear meditation, they think of gurus, or they think of having to spend money at a yoga studio. and basically doing an activity that isn't something that you really want to do. But what I find in my life is that people that are against solitude are people that either one don't want to increase their self-awareness and or have no interest in looking introspectively at themselves, or just have an issue with the internal things that might be going on in our minds. Because if you feel like you always have to have something in your mind and you can't be ever quiet with your own thoughts, I think that's a red flag that something needs to change. Because I feel like one of the biggest barriers to personal growth is the inability to be self-reflective, and or the inability to be able to self-audit, or the inability to be able to know oneself. And at our big ages, meaning anybody that is 40 and above, even those that are in the generation ahead or behind, that when you feel like you have either learned everything that you need to know, or you feel that you have fully arrived, I feel like that's super problematic, because I feel like there should always be a flexibility and willingness to learn and to evolve. Conversely, I think that as far as meditation is concerned, it is just one way or one of the modalities that one can use to tap into one's thoughts. And I just think that it is to all of our benefit to take a minute to kind of check in with ourselves, to kind of figure, okay, well, what am I thinking about on a regular basis? What am I fixated on? And whatever it is that you are thinking about, you are probably thinking about things that you might not even be aware of. It might be on autoplay. um I know that, being that I'm a type A personality, I have a playlist for every mood. So if I need to be motivated, I listen to instrumental music where it has strings, and that's probably because I grew up playing the violin, and listening to strings calms my nerves, and it just kind of enables me to get into a trance like focused state, even without the use of a cannabinoid. Um, and the point that I am trying to make here is that I always feel like I need to have a category for my thoughts or a reason for doing things. But in meditation, it has made me um, unplug from my need to even control what I'm listening to at every moment, because it's like I want to control so much that in doing so it can be to my detriment. And so in um therapy, I am exploring how, instead of fighting the current of my life, I should start rowing with the current as opposed to fighting against the current. And I'm gonna just say that is harder to do than it is when you hear it. Because when you hear it, you kind of feel like, well, why would I be fighting with myself? But then when you think about cognitive dissonance anyway, or the internal fighting that you might have, let's say, for example, you feel that you shouldn't continue to obsess over your ex, but yet you follow them on every single social media platform, and you are tapped into every single thing that they are doing, but yet you don't want to revisit the situation. So that's where cognitive dissonance is. It's like whatever it is that you're thinking, but you're doing something in conflict with that. So I feel like if we apply that to various other aspects of our lives, you will see where you are in at war with yourself. But when you take time to be aware of the internal struggles that you might be having, or you take time to self audit and you see some of the roadblocks that you have decided to not try to overcome, because all of us have overcome some sort of challenge, whether it is a financial one or an emotional one or whatever. All of us have had to go through something this year that we have tried to navigate. And the point that I'm trying to make here is that we had to actually do something to go through it. It wasn't something that we could somehow skip a step about. It was something that we had to literally work through. And I feel like when we take time to listen to ourselves, we can realize how we can kind of apply all of that great advice that we always have for our friends. It occurred to me not too long ago that if I took half of the advice that I think about in my mind, or if I took half of the advice that I so easily dispense to others, that I wouldn't be struggling the way that I do. Thank you for joining. I just had to really kind of sit with myself and realize, I was just like, I might need to start to do things a little bit differently if I actually want to have different results. So the next part of the book is called the life design pages. So if it is not clear, this book is very detailed, and then it's colorful, and it has stickers and lines and all sorts of things in there. But the point is that it is a catalyst for change. So if you are not the person that wants to sit down and do all of this, you don't have to do all of that. But what I just wanted you to know is that there is something that can help you in the process as it pertains to bringing about change in your life. And like I said, if you're not the type to want to do a whole big journal on your whole life, that's fine. Just do a vision board list, or do a list of things that you would like to shift. But I want to be careful in that I'm not saying that you should, for example, make a long list of resolutions, or people often talk about New Year's resolutions, and then by the time they've made them, they've already broken them. Because you know good and well that you are not actually trying to do any of what you put on the list. But what I have found is, for me, if I try to institute ways that I can, for example, change my lifestyle. So I may not change something like a whole personality flaw, but I can get on the pathway of changing the flaw. So that is, for example, speaking with a therapist, that is having friends in your life that hold you accountable, that enable you to basically reflect back to you, because a good friend is going to do just that, or they're going to be like iron sharpens iron. They are not going to just let you be outside looking problematic, because friends want to see you do your best, and you want the same for your friends. So that is that. And I want to transition to the next book that I mentioned earlier in the year. And it is called Take Care, the Black Women's Guide to Wellness. So what I like about this book is it too has a lot in there as it pertains to just first acknowledging that self-care isn't something that comes natural to us. And the reason why it doesn't is because, well, we are just taught as Black women that we're just supposed to grin and bear whatever difficulty, because we need to be the strong Black woman. But thankfully, just like I talked about in another episode, somebody came up with the song of I'm not your superwoman. So the point of the song is to say that we don't have to be everything to everybody all the time, but for some reason we feel the need to do so. And I feel like this book addresses self care in a way that is easily or more easily digestible to someone that is a recovering people pleaser, for example. And I say I'm a recovering people pleaser because I still want those in my company to always be in a state of relaxation, even if I'm on edge. I want people around me to be comfortable, even if it's at my expense. And I don't know why, but that's just how my personality and how my brain is set up. And so, what this book is, it acknowledges that we are not at the same starting point as our, for example, white counterparts when it comes to how we look at self care. In the same way, when it comes to mental health, like I expressed in another episode, people that are white typically think of mental health just like their physical health. So, if they have diabetes, for example, and they also are depressed, both of those require a specialist and or someone to help them to manage their symptoms or whatever it might be. Well, as you know, in the Black and or Latina culture, or the Afro-Caribbean or Caribbean culture, basically anybody that isn't white, we've been we look at mental health as not really something that we really need to dive into that deeply, or we think that it doesn't really apply to us, or we think about that it's just something that can be prayed away or something that can be anointed away, as opposed to something that legit needs somebody to assist us in working through and processing. And so I just think that we need to try to tap into all of the resources that are available, because in previous generations, tools and strategies and resources were not readily available. And so I feel like that's the reason why a lot of us saw in our parents' relationships and even in our grandparents' dynamics, people that didn't have the language to communicate, period, and or people that didn't have the language to express themselves in a way that they felt like would be heard. Whether it was my grandmother, when she said, for example, I asked her one day why she had so many children, and she was just like, well, they didn't allow Black women to have birth control. And I said, wait, pause. She says, yes, whenever I would hear about the clinics at the grocery, or when I was at the kids' doctor's appointments, I would go to the new clinic and I would ask for birth control. And they would tell me that that's not something that was offered, or they did not, or that I couldn't become a new patient. And I was like, because my mom was born in the 50s. And so I just figure, everybody always had access to birth control, and apparently that was not the case. And but that was not something that my grandma felt like she could speak about readily. And so even when I asked her as her grandchild, there was a resistance, I guess, initially for her to speak about it. But you know me, I'm tenacious. So I kept asking, and finally she gave me that answer. And so part of me was sad, just because not only, I'm not saying that she didn't want to have all of my uncles and aunts, but I'm just saying so much of her life would have probably been different if she would have had the ability to not, for example, go through the multiple births that she had to, had she had other choices and options. And so just thinking about that, and then thinking about how in several states it's no longer feasible for a woman to get an abortion without some sort of state intervention. I just feel like that's problematic, that that's something that is actually being discussed by male-bodied peoples or humans that, don't have female parts or genitalia or the reproductive system, but yet they are legislating about a part of their body that they don't even have, or about a part of a body that they don't have. I just find that to be, that's like somebody who pays none of your bills and will never pay none of your bills to tell you how you should spend your paycheck. That's crazy. But somehow that's what's going on when it comes to how we navigate this thing. And I just feel also that it's problematic that birth control should solely be on the shoulders of the female bodied individual, because why do we keep needing to explore and or expend funding to address erectile dysfunction? So we already have Viagra, Cialis, and I think the new one is HIMS, HIMS. So we have 3 different ways to solve erectile dysfunction, but we don't have one way for a man to not impregnate us on the market, on the pharmaceutical market, which I feel like is problematic. So I feel like if we're already studying that particular area, some of the research needs to be focusing on how men can become more participatory in the process when it comes to avoiding children. That's just my thoughts. And or everybody should get one of these, which is a ring that tracks your various body nuances or biometrics or whatever have you. And then if you are a female body person, you can then invite the person and or people that you are being intimate with to the app. And then the other person can now be aware of your cycle and be aware of when you are ovulating, so that if they do not want to bring a human into the world, they can either do things to prevent it, like pulling out or avoiding penetrative sex. So, for example, if you've been doing a lot of that, you might want to switch it up and play with a toy or utilize fingers or the mouth. Just anything that the sperm will not have direct contact with the vaginal area, so that you can help the female bodied person avoid pregnancy, yet still have intimacy and closeness. That might be something that we could all work together for. Because I just feel like, if we're all, being intimate, and if we're all, having sex, I just feel like it should be on both parties to avoid, and not just on the female bodied person. That's just my thoughts on it. But anyway, I just want to thank you so much for, again, being a part of my online community, A Village for Us, and my, which is also an extension of my boutique, or boutique. I'm not for sure how you're supposed to say it, like tomato and tomato. But the point is, I have a small agency where we focus on, being the soft landing for a woman that's in transition. So if you are managing or navigating a divorce or domestic violence or food insecurity, housing insecurity, any of those, or need mental health services or need a doula or a lactation consultant, instead of going to the government for your first stop, I would suggest you thinking of A Village for Us, and then we can be the go-between to facilitate you getting those services free of charge, because a lot of places that you might not be aware of either provide services pro bono and or are willing to do so through my agency. So if you are unaware, a lot of companies require their staff to do so much community service. And if they don't want to actually find people that are in need of services, then there's usually a second or third party, such as myself, that can bridge those two together. So I am partnering with both companies and entities that have either the manpower and or the resources to support people that need services without them having to pay for said services. So, in other words, it's a win-win for everybody involved. And again, all of the services are free of charge. And if you would like to know more, then just go to A Village for Us on Instagram, send a DM, and I will send you a PDF or Google form, which lays out all the nuances and it lays out how you can get involved, whether you want to become a client or whether you want to become a partner to then assist with my current client base. And so, if you are not familiar with the fact that I pitched for that particular company this summer, I did so for the first time and I learned a lot. And I'm excited to continue fundraising moving forward into 2025 and or quarter one. I'm excited for quarter four to come to a close so that we can actually put all of our resources and focus into the upcoming year. But like I said, I just wanted to say that I'm just so thankful that you all have been here with me on this journey. And I hope that something that I shared today has sparked in you the idea that you need to look internally to find ways to propel yourself forward, because stagnation is the enemy of success and innovation. And I want all of us to do our very best to continue to evolve to become the very best versions of ourselves so that we can, even though it's cliche, we can be the change that we want to see. So, again, thank you so much for your time. Happy Friday. And like, share, subscribe, or if you are in the giving mode and you would love to give me a gift, I would love it if you would follow me on YouTube. And if you would leave me 2 sentences without emojis, because YouTube is finding a different way of tracking analytics. And apparently, when you put emojis, that is doing something to whatever AI or algorithm that they are utilizing. And it is not giving the engagement numbers that it once was. Once YouTube started doing the YouTube shorts, the way in which they track engagement shifted as well. And I just was made aware of this information. So 2 sentences on YouTube would be a great gift if you would love to do so. And it's something you can do free of charge. And I would absolutely love it if you would do that for me. So happy holidays, happy Friday. And thank you for being a part of A Village for Us. And I will see you next week. And I am your host, Tasha Ray. And this has been another episode of Red Lipstick Conversations. Until next time, bye-bye.